Chat, we got one of them ones today. I feel like we've been cooking. We done had FB Tings on. We done dropped, we done got DJ Hazmat on the week before. And I had to spin the block. And I had to get my guy, the OG. I see him doing big things over there. SBD Podcast is in the building. Let me take my banner down. I need everybody. I told him I see the numbers moving over there, man. 26,000 strong. Make sure you over there. Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. And make sure you salute. Make sure you're going over and subscribe. But my brother, how you doing? Welcome back to the barbershop. And I can't wait to talk to you. It's been so much since the last time we talked.
Yeah, it's always appreciative, man, when somebody reaches out to you and they want you to, come back on the show and grace the presence, man. So I do appreciate that, man. And, it's always love, man. And I always find it, kind of gratifying because people like you that have set the standard with this Cleveland media and what you do to these insiders. And that just gives people like myself that follow your movement some content that we can create. Because like I've always told you, I told you this last time I was on your show, the way you be cooking, it's almost like you got this big pot, right? You got all your supplies, you got all your ingredients, and you just dump it all in there. And then you stir it up. And when you stir it up, guess what happens? It comes out. You know what the saying is? The Rock, what you got cooking. Mm-hmm. And when you cook them up, and then you give them something to wash it down with, and then you just walk away. That's what's so impressive. So, following your movement, man, you've been around for a minute. And the things that you talk about, man, it's just, I look at it like it's just so graceful the way the way you carry yourself, man, the way you treat them guys, and you just go about your business, man, and do it the right way, man. So I do appreciate you, and I do appreciate being back on the barbershop.
Yeah, man. Listen, first and foremost, man, kudos, and I want to thank you. Man, it's always, great to hear somebody give you your flowers, but we got to all understand, like I told FB Tings, see, this is one of them things where this is a movement where the sum of the parts is not as great as the total. So I've always, as even I'm watching this, I'm like, man, sometimes I'm watching what you saying. I'm like, dang, I wish I'd have thought about that. That was a cold angle right there. That was cold, bro. So it's all about, I think there's a new wave of what we like to call truth tellers. There's a new wave of people that's outside of the machine, that didn't come up in the machine, that ain't of the machine. So that is naturally threatening. And this is actually, to be truthful, one of the first things that we want to get to, is we looked at some of the things that's been happening and transpiring inside the Cleveland media. And the thing that I find so refreshing is it seems that the people on the outside of the bubble seem to have a more relevant perspective or more well-rounded perspective of what's actually going in, the people that are on the boots on the ground. So when we talking about it, when you guys are seeing this stuff, I think from the outside, a lot of people from the Cleveland Browns community wasn't noticing these little sleight of hands and tricks. Sometimes it takes people on the outside to point it out and be like, was they always doing this? This ain't normal. This is the people that's supposed to like your team. They are supposed to be there to report on the team, and if they do well, they do well. One hand washes the other, but it doesn't seem to be that way from your perspective or the outside perspective. What are your thoughts on just the way this thing is transpired, where it just seems like people are just that anybody but Shedeur is taking a whole life of itself?
Yeah, I think that's a movement right there. Anybody but Shedeur. And I look at it like this. Some of these insiders and some of these media personnel that do cover the Cleveland Browns, like, where was all this energy years before? This didn't happen until Shedeur walked in the building, right? So I'm saying to myself, if you're supposed to be reporting on the Cleveland Browns and representing the city of Cleveland and that football organization, you should want the best for them. You shouldn't always push your narrative out there, undermining everything that Shadeur Sanders has done ever since he's walked in the building. It seems to me that they could care less if the team is successful. As long as they undermining Shadeur and having something to talk about, that's the narrative that they're going to push. It seems to me that they could care less on how the Cleveland Browns football team turns out, because we already know Shedeur Sanders is the best option that Cleveland has right now. And you touched on it the other day. All the quarterbacks that they wanted, that they said that could come in and replace Shedeur Sanders, did none of them walk into that building. Where are they at now? Kyler Murray, he's with the Minnesota Vikings. Malik Willis signed his big deal. It's all kinds of quarterbacks that they talked about. They even talked about Mac Jones. Where's Mac Jones at? They talked about, paying Malik Willis, but that didn't happen. So that's telling me that Todd Monken, the new regime that the Cleveland Browns have, they're focused on winning. They're focused on getting this program turned around. And for the media personnel to undermine everything that's got to do with Shedeur Sanders and not, wanting the success for the football team, to me is just diabolical, because they look at it like, as long as we can talk about Shedeur, as long as we can bring out these advanced analytics and tell everybody that Shedeur Sanders is the worst quarterback since sliced bread, they going to do it. They don't care about the team's success. And right now, Shedeur Sanders is the best option for that team to move forward.
The way that the NFL interacts. See, the NFL always tells you what they're going to do. The NFL will put breadcrumbs down. I always remember somebody told me, because I used to study, I used to be like, I'm a political science major, and then I found out you can't get no job. So I was just like, somebody told me, and they always used to say this, he said, the people don't choose presidents. Power and corporations do. And when you look at what Shedeur Sanders is, and when you look at what the NFL is, the NFL has already signed the peace treaty. They just didn't see it. See, what happened was, I think that people miss business because the Browns have been a very, I think, downtrodden organization, and we think everything is transactional. They don't ever think about the big picture. Yeah. But the big picture is this. You got somebody in your building that's one of the most famous people in the world. You got a new stadium that you need. You need to sell tickets. There's only a few times in a history of an organization you get an influx of new fan base. There is, how are you going to do it? If you're a Browns fan, you're a Browns fan. And if the population gets older, guess what? Your fan base gets older. You have an opportunity, a rare opportunity, that you have a person that has a global fan base. Now, you mix that with the Browns tradition, you mix that with what he can bring on the outside as far as economics goes, and you got a situation where you're sitting on something that can be special. I don't think people are looking at it from that angle.
And I'm glad, look, I'll go ahead and piggyback off of what you said, because we talked about it before. With a person like Shedeur bringing in the new culture, right? A global icon. You know what the Sanders family stands for, right? You got this new stadium. But what happened last year when Shedeur Sanders walked in the building? Like you said, it was a new flux of fans that gravitated over to the Cleveland Browns. I don't care what team you represent. I don't care what team you cheer for. But every Sunday, because of the possibility of Shedeur Sanders getting a chance to get on that football field, you was locked in. If you didn't have the NFL Sunday ticket, you probably went out and got the NFL Sunday ticket just because of the Cleveland Browns. And just because of the notion that number 12 is out there, and it's a possibility that he can step foot on that field at any time, and you didn't want to miss it. You wanted to be a part of what was going on. So, like you said, with the new flux of all the fans coming in, and like you said, the NFL already signed the peace treaty. They already gave the stamp of approval. In Cleveland with the new stadium, how you going to sell tickets? 12. That's the answer, 12. So for all the people that say that, okay, Shedeur Sanders, he ain't got it, he can't do it, he don't move the goalposts, y'all are the same people that y'all watching it every day. You are the same people that are sitting back in the pews watching us talk about it every day because you intrigued. And that's what they're out there doing. And just like you said, the NFL has already signed the peace treaty, so you might as well just ride the wave.
Because the peace treaty, see, what they didn't understand was, see, we'll get to the second part of what it means to sign the peace treaty. But a lot of this also, when the NFL does sign the peace treaty, I had to analyze what and sit back and realize what do, and if we keep it to, to talking about, how we interact with politics and how we interact with the decisions that we make as a society. It took me a long time to realize that people sometimes, and most times, will even vote against their own interest, because they don't vote with their minds or their wallets. They vote with their ideology. So one of the things that you have to always realize is, if you're the face of a franchise, that's more popular than the governor. That's more popular than your representative that in your district. That's more popular than the mayor. You are the face of one of 32 teams in the NFL. And you know one thing that you talk about it, people ain't gonna listen. So when that person, if you're the quarterback of that person becomes the face of a generation, the face of the people that come there. And some people, you just have to realize, are not comfortable with that face if you can't identify with it, especially when you limit access.
But I've always told people the doors of the church is always open, so you can come right on in.
If they turn them away, they turn you away, come on over here. If you're downtrodden, if you need a meal, if you want to talk about something fun and engaging, come on over here. My thing is, let me ask you this question in terms of what you see for the Browns, and it seems as if people don't see something special. For me, it's weird that I'm inside the bubble, and like you said, there's a lot of different people who seem to be addicted to, saying things about the counterculture of the Browns. It seems like there's an adversarial relationship there. From the outside looking in, I don't know why people couldn't be excited about this. I mean, you got Judkins, you got Fanning, you got a new coach that actually wants to say something and put the quarterback in the best position to win. He actually says his name. Why do you think, that people can't get around that this could be a special thing moving forward with some of the pieces, and this could be the start of something new, what we call #New Cleveland?
And see, I'm gonna start it here, because when Kevin Stefanski got fired, right, and they was going through their coaching search, I think a lot of Cleveland media and the insiders, they advocated for Jim Schwartz. Mm-hmm. And since Jim Schwartz did not get that job, and they brought somebody in as such as Todd Monken. And when Todd Monken first, was introduced, we saw the interaction he had with Shadeur Sanders. We tried to draft your ass last year, but, it's full circle moment. You here now. And then when you hear Todd Monken, an article say when he was at the University of Georgia, he was trying to recruit Shadeur Sanders coming out of high school, right? So he's putting his name, attaching it to Shadeur Sanders, right? And, it goes back to, him with the Baltimore Ravens. You know what I'm saying? They really looked at Shadeur Sanders, but Shadeur Sanders turned that down because of the fact that didn't want to sit behind Lamar Jackson, right? So now you're looking at everything special that's happening. And we've said this before. You got your quarterback of the future. You just got to build around him. And for everything that you have said and the things that I have regurgitated, and I've said the same thing about, you go upgrade your offensive line. You go try to get yourself a big play wide receiver outside of Jerry Jeudy and Isaiah Bond. And then I look at what happened before free agency started when they made the trade for Titus Howard, right? So they went and upgraded a big piece on the offensive line. For those that don't know, I don't know if they know about Titus Howard. When he played for the Houston Texans, I think he's been in the year, 7 to 8 years? Mm-hmm. But in that 7 to 8 year run, he's only given up 7 sacks. And that says a lot. And then when free agency started, what did they go out there and do? They got Zion Johnson. They got Tevin Jenkins. They got Elton Jenkins. And then, they upgraded at the linebacker. They got that animal in Quincy Wilson. Quincy Wilson only knows one speed.
He's moving.
And you put him out there with the likes of Carson Schwetzinger and the cornerbacks that they got. It's a special movement. And people got to understand something. I take a little caveat of what Mary Kay said when she was talking about Kyler Murray. When she talked about, if I was the Cleveland Browns, I'd be kicking down the tires. I'd be kicking down the doors to reach out to Kyler Murray. Because if you put pieces around Kyler Murray, you don't know what he's capable of doing. Well, Barry K, let me tell you this. You put them same pieces around Shedeur Sanders, what we got. Because we've seen if you got some pieces around Shedeur with some big play wide receivers, you got a nice running back, you got a line that'll block for him, Shedeur Sanders is the guy for Cleveland. And that's the movement that's going on with the new regime with Todd Monken. And I just think Andrew Berry standing 10 toes down now. You know, he got what he want, relaying information to, you know, Todd Monken. Todd Monken trying to, you know, get the pieces that he needs to build around Shedeur. And for people that's on the outside looking in, like myself, I'm like, man, if you not impressed at what Cleveland is doing, because all the talk is about the quarterback.
Yep.
Man, let's leave that alone, man. Let's talk about the other things that Cleveland needs. Let's talk about the offensive line, the reconstruction of the offensive line. Let's talk about getting better on special teams. Let's talk about, you know, as your head coach coming in, the things that Kevin Stefanski didn't do last year, didn't know how to utilize his timeouts or his challenges, things like that. Now you got Todd Monken that specializes in helping these young quarterbacks out to get where they want. And then you got a head coach that is not afraid to say number 12's name in Shedeur Sanders. People should be excited about that.
Yeah, listen, spot on. You know, I would love to get to a point, and I think that this point is coming because what'll start to happen is football will start to seep in. See, that's a great thing about football. You can talk all you want. We can sit up here and talk all the stuff we want to talk about, but when they start snapping in football, you know, you can support who you want to support.
Exactly.
But the football it has a funny way of separating the good from the bad, the weak from the strong, and who gonna get it done and who ain't gonna get it done. So when they start playing the games and they start getting to it, you're gonna have to start getting down to the business of breaking down the football. And the thing that we look at is Andrew Berry told you what he was gonna look for. He looked at the offensive line. They didn't have anybody under contract. He made moves to get an all-pro. That's an all-pro center and Elton Jenkins. They went back and they went back and signed back Tevin Jenkins. Mm-hmm. Titus Howard, I love the move. Love that move. And Zion Johnson is another guard who's young, who's 26 years old. Now they put themselves in a position where you don't have to go into the draft and say, hey, I want Monroe Freeling because that's the only guy we can get, or Maui Noah. Now you can go in there and you can really deal from a position of power and say, well, look, we done already addressed some of these things up front. What we also can do is we can go get a receiver here. We can take a lineman. Hey, don't play with us. We might take a defensive dude. I don't even know. Hey, we might take the best available. Y'all want to trade? We open for business. So they've done those things to bona fide and to solidify what the offense is going to be. I think too. Also, see, I think if you read the tea leaves, one thing that I tried to look behind the screen. And by the way, Andrew Berry, hey, listen, everything is dry on the Western Front. Let me just let y'all know something right now. G. Bush ain't heard nothing. I ain't heard. Listen, they don't need to talk to nobody right now. The faucet is dry. Ain't nothing coming out of Berea right now. Nothing. It's crickets. Watch how ain't nobody. Everybody's guessing. I just see so many guesses. I'm like, boy, y'all was guessing on Geno Smith. You was y'all Malik. Then Anthony Richardson. They wasn't even the Anthony Richardson. I was like, these are bold-faced guesses. Now let me tell you this. Don't you find it weird? Shedeur Sanders, how come every time these free agents pull up, they be like, yeah, I met with Shedeur the other day.
Quick.
Why every time you see some receivers playing, it's Shedeur with Jerry Jeudy and Malachi Corley is talking about, I'm going to meet with Shedeur the next week. Why is it Shedeur on the plane coming to meet Todd Monken day one? Why is it? I'm confused by why everybody is talking. Hey, Quinshawn, what do you think about Shedeur being QB1? Man, I love him, man. Where are all of the, and we'll get to Deshaun Watson, Deshaun Watson didn't meet nobody at the airport. Dylan Gabriel didn't meet nobody at the airport. K-Sapp, I'm confused.
That's the crazy thing about you, Bush. See, everything that you be saying and the way that you break it down, that's what bothers them. The biggest problem that I have, because you're going off of what you're saying these sources are telling you, but when you come up on a show and you spearing it out to the public, that comes across. That's why people be on his head, because I want to hear what you think of Shedeur Sanders from what you saw in the 7-game sample size that everybody else saw. Don't tell me what the analytics are telling me, because I don't want to deal with them analytics, because you only deal with the analytics when it comes to Shedeur Sanders. Every other quarterback that has walked through this building and every other quarterback that's around the league, you don't use these advanced metrics to judge them. You'll go by, oh, this guy, he made an excellent throw. You see the touchdown he throw? But what they do, like you told him, Bush, they undermined everything Shedeur Sanders did in that Tennessee Titans game. They undermined it that he was the only other quarterback outside of Joe Burrows to throw for over 360 yards as a rookie, 3 touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown. They didn't want to talk about that. They wanted to get their broom, sweep it up under the rug, and act like it never happened. They don't even want to talk about the first rookie to win a game for the Cleveland Browns since 1995-96 when he beat the Raiders. They don't want to talk about that. They want to bring all the negative stuff, undermine everything he done. And like you said, the problem is y'all don't watch film, because I've seen your shows after the game where you break it down, you do film study, you break it down all the good, and you break down all the bad. You're not just focused on the good, you focused on everything. And that's what they fail to realize is they focused on one thing instead of everything that Shedeur Sanders has done great. They'll take the interception and they'll build a whole show off of one interception, but they won't say all the other good things he did through the course of the game.
You see what you see? I tell you what really hurt their heart. It just hurt them. It's hurt them bad too. You know, you go back and rewind it. You know, some people that watch the barbershop. I said, hey, Shedeur. Hey man, if you want to really make them mad, you would really get them under their skin. Here's what you do. Because at the time, the Browns was what, at the number two overall position, I think. They think they had the second worst. They was going to get the number 2. But I said, Shedeur, go ahead and beat these 2 division rivals. Go ahead and get the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Bengals up out of here. They're going to be real mad at you. Yep. Man, we come do the shows on Monday. All of a sudden, they tight-lipped. They can't say nothing. People around the internet is mad. I said, what y'all mad for? We just beat the Steelers. I thought it was about these wins and losses. I thought it was with the wins. I thought it was the bottom line, because when Dylan was there, it was okay. It was about the wins. Yep. But now you beat the Steelers, and all the Steelers needed to do was come in here and clinch. They would have clinched it. Oh, by the way, we talk about Joe Burrow all the time. Yeah. I think on the road in a meaningless game, Joe Burrow didn't get it done. Yep. Shedeur Sanders, you're at home, Joe. Yep. Shedeur Sanders led the game-winning touchdown drive. But don't tell me that hurt their heart, because that took that whole chip. See, it's all about keeping the board was supposed to stay cluttered. Yeah. It was supposed to be options with quarter. Remember, they started the 2026 chant before the season started, right? Yeah. He took it away. He took all that away. That hurt them.
They was on that Arch Manning train. And I'm glad that you said that, because I did a show. I said Shedeur Sanders threw a monkey wrench in the whole organization on their thought process. Because like you just alluded to, Pittsburgh had a chance to clinch. They didn't have to get in that warfare with Baltimore that last game, which they should have lost.
At all.
Exactly. And Shedeur Sanders went out there and got it done against Pittsburgh and Aaron Rodgers. And then what happened? He got it done against Joe Burrows, right? And then what happened was you see yourself at number 2, and then all of a sudden you slowly climb to number 6, right? So you drop. You just looked over the cliff and you fell, right? So what happened is, like you said, that hurt them. So now they're going to start putting all these narratives out there. And it goes back. See, you see how everything goes back full circle? Now it goes back to all these quarterbacks that y'all wanted from the start. Y'all talked about Ty Simpson. Y'all talked about Francisco Mendoza. And see, when Shedeur Sanders threw the monkey wrench in your system, you can't talk about Francisco Mendoza no more, because the Raiders need a quarterback. He's gone.
They tried. Listen, I think they was calling Dante Moore. They was calling his cell phone. Dante, come on, man. You don't need to go back to Oregon. You can come over here and get this minutes right now. I think you have to do everything you can for now. They sitting there, and you got to go to the dance with the girl that you know you was gonna dance with. You wasn't getting no upgrades. You wasn't good. Why are you looking at the cheerleaders? First and foremost, looking at yourself, you wasn't getting that cheerleader. You need to stop it. I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring. You know they're not getting that. Let's talk about this, K-Sapp. This is crazy, because this actually is another reason they mad. They mad with this. The Browns, there's and I need an I in that. I should have probably, see, this is why. Sorry, editor. She immediately pointed it out. She was like, "You spell it wrong."
That's okay.
Sorry, bro.
They understand what it means.
The subtle genius in the Watson versus Sanders quarterback battle. See, this is devastating because they played this hand like a this is three-dimensional chess here. Because you said, I think it was either you or Big Snack said it. I'm trying to think about, most of y'all probably have said it. They said, see, the thing is, you put them between a rock and a hard place because they don't like Shedeur Sanders, but they hate Deshaun Watson. And so now you pick, listen, you put them in between a situation which is like, which one of them do you want to pick? And it's cruel because you can see them stew when you bring it up. Now they've told you, we're going to play this quarterback competition. We're going to give Deshaun an opportunity. And then they're looking around. They don't know whether to say Deshaun is better than Shedeur or just simply cut him because he doesn't need to be on the team, or they should get. And that's why you see the cognitive dissonance happens. You start to see people spin out. You ever see somebody just, they can't understand the reality and the two options in front of them. And now they're stuck between saying, okay, I got to pick between these two dudes. And so what they end up doing is throwing anything out there, anything to see if it works, because the two options that they're lying to say, hey, we're trying to be fair arbiters. No, you're not. You hate both of these options.
Yeah.
So now which one you going to pick?
And you know what's funny, Bush? Because I look at it like this. I'm looking at Deshaun Watson and Shadeur Sanders. And I tell this to my kids that I coach, man. Iron sharpens iron, right? And if you go back and look at some of the games this year, Shadeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson had a great dialect on that sideline. See, people didn't understand, like sometimes when the camera panned on the sideline, Shadeur's over there talking to Deshaun Watson. They looking in the Microsoft book, right? They looking at how things can happen the way I see it and helping each other out. And that goes back to Dylan Gabriel. I never saw Dylan Gabriel over there communicating with nobody. Shedeur Sanders would try to make an effort to communicate with him, but it just wasn't happening. So now what you just said, they don't like Shedeur, but they can't stand Deshaun. So now you have a quarterback competition between Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders. And then you still got old Dylan Gabriel in the quarterback room. But what hurts is, it goes back to Shedeur Sanders throwing a monkey wrench in the system by winning them games. Now all the quarterbacks that y'all talked about in the draft that potentially go get, now once that was out the door, G. Bush, what they start talking about, all these quarterbacks that was released and all these quarterbacks that's in free agency that y'all want to bring in. Y'all started with, y'all was on the Malik Willis train.
Listen, on record.
Hard.
On record. Like they were they were, and the crazy part about it is so crazy is I've already, see this is why it's three-dimensional chess. They've already told this, like, see, this stuff is already, like, a lot of this stuff has already been talked about. The thing I like with Todd Monken and Andrew Berry is, first of all, they don't leak nothing. Second of all, Todd Monken is good at giving you just enough and deflecting. When they ask him a question, he's going to say, well, that's a very good question, but let me just tell you this. Nobody has a position, but, right now I have to see these guys play. But let me tell you also, I love his elite playmaking ability. See what he told you was, no. You think that you're going to get me to come out here and say that I'm giving him the job. So then when I give him the job and he doesn't perform well, you're going to say, well, they got to get rid of you because you didn't vet him out. You didn't even have a competition. So he blocks that right now and says, I got to get to the field. It is about the field. Then second of all, he really diffuses bombs by doing things Kevin Stefanski couldn't bring himself to do. All you got to do is, you can't mention the guy's name. Hey, you asked me what verbatim, hey, what do you think about Shedeur Sanders, what he's done? And how close is he to playing? What do you see in him from his progression? Well, all our young players. I said, bro, you don't even know how to play the game good enough, Kevin. You got to at least give us something out here that throw the sin off the trail. You can't just sit there and just deflect. But the thing that they've done with Deshaun Watson is they said, listen, Deshaun, I think it's very strange. In 4 years he's been here, since he's torn his Achilles, how many Deshaun Watson interviews have there been? How many Deshaun Watson articles have there been? Has he been on a podcast? He used to have one. Has he been talking in front of people? Has he spoken to the local media? I find that quite strange that a guy that would be a $230 million type guy who high price contract and is embroiled in a quarterback battle, why has he not spoken, K-Sapp? Where is he at? We can't get him on record about nothing, no draft, the healing, none of that, because they told him, we're going to rehabilitate you. The league didn't sign off on it. We're going to get you another. You see you see what happened to Sam Darnold? We're going to get you in here. We'll put you as a backup. We're going to rehabilitate your image. We'll get this thing together. You mentor Shedeur. And by the way, we still going to be refinancing that contract. So you're going to get every dollar. And I find it funny that you're over here in Europe smiling and hanging out with his beautiful wife. Yeah. He ain't even look like he was busting a sweat. I said, so you think all of this is a coincidence?
See, a lot of people just got to start paying attention to what people say because it's out there. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, like in a sentence, sometimes you don't have to read the line. Just read in between the line. It'll tell you. You know what I'm saying? So basically, for the people that's listening, you know what I'm saying? Everything that Bush is saying, hey, y'all gotta take heed to that stuff because I've sat there and listened to G. Bush say a lot of things, and then it would come to fruition. I'd be like, damn, Bush said that, but you got to pay attention to catch on to what he said because it's right out there for you. He's giving it to you.
Listen. Hey, listen. You don't want to be you don't want to haphazardly just put it all in people's face. Like I told you, when I do the barbershop K-Sapp, what I try to do, I said, guys, if you watch the shows in a sequence, it reads as a ongoing storyline. It's not just a one-off. If you caught something, you can go back to 6 months ago and be like, hold on, that is kind of wild. Like I told him when Prime showed, I said, y'all didn't think it was funny that Prime was on Well Off Media and he showed up the Tennessee game and the owner met him downstairs and Now when Kevin was there, Prime ain't showing up to nothing. He ain't coming to nothing. And Shedeur said, "No, I'm good. We cool. It be there. It be there." I'm gonna tell you what though, before we get to these super chats though, I'm gonna give you the last word on this. What are your thoughts on just how things will look when it comes to the summer? Because I'm getting people prepared for the summer. I'm getting people prepared for the training camp because the quarterback tracker is coming back. That we so and so was 7-7. You do know they counting first team reps. What are your thoughts on that spectacle come the summer? Because that's going to be explosive. Because at that point in time, Deshaun Watson has to speak and talk. So what are your thoughts?
The crazy thing is when you talk about that quarterback tracker, where was that quarterback tracker earlier last year? It was nowhere. And I think didn't you bring that to somebody's attention? Didn't you get that quarterback tracker thrown in there? Is that something that G. Bush cooked up and got? Did you do that, Bush?
I said, come on, Tony. You said that you had Dylan Gabriel throwing the ball 45 times. I said, listen, the live stream. I said the live stream was available for everybody to watch. Yeah. He only threw 26 passes.
Yeah.
Where'd you get the extra passes from?
Yeah.
Man, boy. They welcome because that quarterback tracker became gospel. They went national with that. So shout out to them, by the way.
Yeah. So, but as far as this summer, man, like everything, because they did a lot of homework before the draft and they've made moves before free agency and then they made some moves in free agency. Now, like you said earlier, going into the draft, you're not fixated on saying this is what I need. You know what I'm saying? Now you got options because I know you talked about the offensive line of Francis Mawawi from Miami. Now I like him, but I don't do I think he's going to be there for Cleveland to pick at number 6? There's options. Also, you talk about Monroe Freeland, the offensive tackle from Georgia. But if you go that route and at number 6, and you got an option to go offensive line, wide receiver. A lot of people say Cornell Tate, but a lot of people don't understand. If you don't go Cornell Tate, man, you look, you can sneakily get Makai Lemon out of USC. I think he would be a great addition for Cleveland.
He's in my top. It's him, Jordan Tyson. It's Cornell Tate, Jordan Tyson, Makai Lemon. And I'm gonna tell you, Makai Lemon.
What'd you think about Omar Cooper?
Omar Cooper, I think he got a second round grade. I think Omar Cooper going to the right situation, he'll be good. I think same with the Indiana dude. I think they'll go a little later because of their speed. But here's the thing about receiver stuff. Like if Makai Lemon was to go, me and Ty was talking about it. If Makai Lemon was to go to like San Francisco, he's gonna cook because they got an offensive mind that knows how to get that type of. He looks like he just. I'm on Ross Bro. He just looks like him.
Yeah.
So it depends a lot where you go, and that is why I'm not Xing a lot of people off the board for Todd Monken because he runs a multiple system. He's found ways to get people to football, whether it's tight ends, whether it's smaller guys like Ladd McConkey. Yeah. He's done that. He's done that even in Baltimore. So you are correct. There's guys like Casey Concepcion that might be there that are moving around. Zachariah Branch. There's a lot of guys that might be available. But like you said, I'm looking forward to seeing that this summer because I think you're going to see the difference between when an offensive coordinator is scheming for you or scheming not to let you shine. And he going to get to do, it's a difference between somebody putting that backing behind you. If you the number one quarterback, they're going to go into that offseason telling you in that huddle, hey, what you like on 2nd and 7 right here. Yeah. Hey, let me show you this on film. When we run that skinny post, what I want you to do, I'm going to run that backside dig. But listen, if you see something, let it fly. It's a difference between saying that and being like, you better not throw that right there because my playbook says you're going to throw this check down in the flats over here. Come on, Kevin. And that ain't going to work. Come on, Kevin.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, man. And I think this summer, all the things that we talked about, if that bodes well for Cleveland, like I said, options in the draft at number 6, a lot of people want to take Cornell Tate, but if Cornell Tate's not there, like I said, Monroe Freeland, that's another upgrade. If you can get Francis Mawawi, and then Cleveland got the 28th?
24.
The 24. Now, like I said, Malachi Lemon, he's sneaky. I know he's only 5'11". He's a slot receiver. But when you talk about guys like as Amar St. Brown for Detroit, he can play that slot. But if I'm Cleveland, if Cornell Tate's there because he got a big catch radius, he don't drop balls. If he's there, you got to go with him. And then that lets you know that we know where Cleveland's going now. We know that. Okay.
They take that receiver at 6. They think that they can cook.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And then, like I said, if you can get a quarterback, a prospect,
a developmental guy,
that's all you need. Because I think Bailey Zappi got signed to. Didn't Bailey Zappi get signed to another team?
Yeah, I think he got signed off the practice squad.
Yeah, off the practice squad. So it's like you go get you a developmental guy, but man, you got Shedeur Sanders, man. Let Shedeur Sanders eat. Build around Shedeur Sanders. Let this Cleveland organization cook. You got a new regime in Todd Monken. Andrew Berry standing 10 toes down. Andrew Berry told y'all guys, but a lot of people just didn't want to listen. Andrew Berry said, I got this. Just relax. Calm down. Let me cook like G. Bush. I'm cooking too, so let me cook.
Cooking my own way. I just move in silence. I don't ring the bell when the food is done. That's what he said. Make sure you're going over to subscribe. Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. You're over there doing big things, man. You got the clothing out. You're doing that, man. You dropping videos. Tell everybody where they can get in and check your content out wherever you at on Twitter, Instagram. The floor is yours, my guy.
Yeah, I appreciate that, G. Bush, man. Appreciate you opening up the floor for me. But yeah, y'all can catch me on all major platforms at Simply Ball Dropping. Also on Instagram, Simply Ball Dropping. Twitter is one K-Sapp SBD. Also, you can go to www.simplyballdropping.com. Like G. Bush said, I got the merch out there. Also, I just want to give a shout out to my son and his high school for winning the state championship down here in Texas.
Salute, that's big time in Texas. They do it big down there. They had to play some people. It ain't Massachusetts. This is not Maine. You got to play some dudes in Texas.
Yeah, so Little Elm High School. Also, I got a guy that I mess with that's on part of my network. He wrote me some music for the state championship for Little Elm and stuff like that. Y'all can go check that out. But yeah, we just over here just trying to do big things, man. I appreciate G Bush always reaching out to me. Looking forward to always chopping it up with G Bush, man. Like I said, G Bush is the OG. He is one of the guys, I call him the forefather of this Cleveland stuff, right? So if y'all guys want to get, informed, man, and if you're not following G Bush, you got to make sure you're tuned into G Bush, man, because he gives great content.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much, my brother, as well. Likewise, we're going to listen. This ain't the only time. We're going to be having a lot of conversations. I got a feeling the Browns going to be the topic of conversation. Speaking of, I got one more. The Real Night King says, what's your thoughts on the wide receiver and safety we got? I haven't seen that. I just got back in the house and started recording this. I'm going to do my research on that. The Real Night King, I will go ahead and tell you that on Saturday. Let me do my research. I'll get back to you on the receiver and whatever the moves Browns made. But I'll give you a rain check on that. I don't want to lie to you. I got to be able to give you the real facts. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
With that being said, you never know when G Bush might show up, radio, television, internet, but you want the fresh cut on sports, you'll see it. I keep the barbershop and the Clippers with me. Have a great rest of your evening. And as always, even though they be hating a lot, it's always go Brown.